All right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are checking in from. I am Coach Keith, and I'm hosting the Peak Performance Summit, creating harmony between mind, body, and nutrition. And today I have with me the amazing Brian Biro. He's an American breakthrough speaker. He has delivered over 1,900 presentations around the world over the last 34 years. He's the author of 16 books, including his bestseller, Beyond Success, and his brand new Lessons from the Legends. Brian was rated number one from over 40 speakers at four consecutive Inc. magazine international conferences with degrees from Stanford University, UCLA. Brian has appeared on Good Morning America and CNN. Brian was recently honored as one of the top 10 interactive keynote speakers in North America and one of the top 50 motivational speakers in the world. Please welcome Brian Biro.
Well, thank you, Keith. It's a joy to be with you. I love that you're called Coach Keith. For a bunch of my life, I was Coach Brian. So, we'll get this coaching idea going along. It's an awesome thing that you're doing with this summit. You can tell how much passion you have for helping people, mind, body, and spirit, and nutrition is a vital key, but so is your mindset. So we're gonna have some fun.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So I'll jump in really quick and just ask you, like, how did you get started in the coaching industry?
Well, I've always loved people. And be a coach is about really wanting to bring out the best in people. And that's been the kind of thread all the way through my three careers. I've had three careers. My first career, after I graduated from Stanford, I was a United States swimming coach. So I was working with young athletes, just as you work with people all the time. And you really don't coach swimming. You coach
Yeah,
people. You coach
yeah,
people, trying to help them overcome their fears, their obstacles, their doubts, and I loved it. I had a great time. Had a great coaching career. My team became at that time one of the largest teams in America. Had 44 of my kids earn full college scholarships, but I had no life. And the only reason I'm still not a swimming coach was I wanted a life. I wanted something that had elusive balance or at least rhythm to life. And so, Keith, I'm probably the only guy who went to get a master's degree to get a life instead of a job. Um,
yeah,
and I did. That's when I met my wife. When I was going to UCLA, got my MBA, ended up going in the corporate world. And my corporate career, I ended up becoming a vice president of two pretty large companies. And that's where I really got into team building, because we were like so many organizations, whether it's a business or even a school or so often we have siloing where one
yeah,
functional group separates from the other, and operations doesn't like sales, sales doesn't like operations, they both don't like the home office a little bit more. And that was
yeah.
what was happening in our own company. And that just made no sense to me with a background in coaching where you realize every sport is a team sport. We always affect each other. Wilma Rudolph, one of the greatest track runners of all time, says no matter what you accomplish, somebody always helps you. We're all in a team sport. So I started doing team building in my own company. We had a massive turnaround. And at the peak of this thing, I said to my wife, honey, we're doing great. Let's quit. I got to go do
Yeah.
this. And so that's when that was 35 years ago that I started being a professional speaker. And that's when I wrote my first book. And it's just been an awesome life. I've had a chance over those 34 years now to reach 1 million people live in my events, and help them understand that they have more in them than they ever thought possible. My mentor was the greatest college men's basketball coach of all time, John Wooden. If people are watching Ted Lasso, his pyramid of success is on Ted Lasso's wall in his little soccer room office.
Yeah.
Coach Wooden said there are no overachievers. There are no overachievers. If people have told you your whole life you're an overachiever, they're not telling you the truth. You got
Yeah.
more in you than you ever thought, and that's really what coaching is about. So, throughout all those three careers, that thread of believing that we have more in us and trying to find the best way for people to find their possibilities has really led me to have a passion for helping people break through.
That's awesome, man. And that kind of leads into the next question where you were saying, like, when someone tells you that you're an overachiever, that they're lying to you, because we can achieve more, way more than we even think is possible. It's all about like our mindset and our leadership. So you state that we are all leaders, right? Most of us are raised to think that there are only a few leaders, like not everyone should be in a leader position, not everyone should be a leader. So we should have leaders and followers. Like you have, like we were raised to be taught that it was separate. Can you tell us about your fresh perspective here and what is like your breakthrough leadership, and is it is its focus on controlling three key controllables?
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for that question. Whoops. I'm in the car and I just slipped. Um, the First of all, the whole starting place for breakthrough leadership is that clarity that you are a leader. Everyone is a leader. You're the CEO of your own life. So let's put it this way. How do you show up every day? That's a big part of your leadership. You're showing people a way to deal with life. How do you deal with adversity, with challenge, with change? That's leadership. Probably most important of all, and you know this, Keith, from your work, what kind of impact do you have on people by who you are? Do you lift them up by just being around them? Do you
Yeah,
neutralize them? Do you bring them down? So the starting place, when people say I talk about leadership, they might immediately think I'm talking about the CEO, the vice president. No, you're the
yeah,
CEO of your own life. Everyone is a self-leader. And what I want to help people do when you start from that place, you look at the world differently. You realize, if you're a mom or you're a dad, you better see yourself as a leader, because no matter what you think, you are teaching your children lessons every day. You're teaching them,
absolutely.
whether they're going to deal with life in a good way or not, they're learning most of that from the way that you deal with your life. So over the years, I've understood that we're all also in the breakthrough business. That why are you doing this summit? Because you want to help people break through to a different level
Yeah,
in their health, a different level in their spirit and attitude, being able to deal with the challenges that life comes with a better spirit. And so I've dedicated my life to helping people understand that they are breakthrough leaders. And over all that time, it's become clear to me that the secret to being a breakthrough leader is to focus on controlling your controllables. Think about it. When you're controlling your controls, you're focusing on the things you do control. You feel so much more confident. You feel momentum. You feel like you start thinking about all the things you can do. It's
yeah,
when we focus on what we don't control, the stuff that's out of our control, that we get frustrated, that we get disappointed, that we run away, that we give up. So what are the key controllables that if we focus on them every day, try to become masters of these three fundamentals, that will create breakthroughs in our life, whether it's in our health, whether it's in our work, whether it's in our family and relationships, whether it's in our spirit. And over these years, it's become clear to me that there are three. And the first is to shape your future. Our vision is our choice. And one of the most powerful ways to understand life and to really create a momentum in your life is to start to recognize that what you focus on is what you create. What you focus on is what you create. You saw the vision of doing this summit before it came to fruition. So
yeah,
here's a
yep,
vital question. Everyone who's watching this summit, ask yourself this question. What are you focusing on? What are you focusing on? How many of us focus more on what we don't want than what we do want? How many of us focus more often on the things that upset us, that anger us, that frustrate us, than on the things that bring us joy and enlighten us? How many
hmm,
of us are focusing on the obstacles in life more than the possibilities? Whichever way you choose, and that's the key. It's your choice. Control. Another word for controllables is choice. And whichever way you focus, what you focus on is what you create. So the starting place to advance your life in terms of those three controllables is to start to condition your mind in the same way you help people condition their bodies and condition the way that they eat and they drink. As you start to focus on what you don't want, which you know right away, you
yeah,
feel your body tense up, you feel your face turn, get dark and start to go, I can't do this, and get angry and tight. Instead, start to condition your mind, recondition your mind to focus on what you do want. Ask yourself, what do I want right now? If somebody comes to you and you feel like they're attacking you or you feel like you're being attacked, ask yourself, what else could this mean? Maybe it's not about me. Maybe they're just having a bad day. Maybe I'm misunderstood. Maybe it's a miscommunication. So the first controllable is about vision. What you focus on is what you create. The second is to energize and engage yourself and your team. When it comes to human performance, when it comes to teamwork, when it comes to living life with joy, when it comes to having a major positive impact on people, so much of that is about energy. And yet very few of us have ever actually studied energy. I mean, often the only energy we study has to do with physics or even nutrition, which is good.
Absolutely.
But what about how do we develop a mindset that says my energy is my choice? And so that is a vitally important controllable, because most people, Keith, think about that. I'll bet you see this every day. Most people think about their energy in the same way they think about the weather. It's kind of like, man, I hope it warms up here pretty soon. It's getting cold. Hope the weather's good for my family picnic. But your energy is actually a choice. And I think we'll talk about a little bit more about that a little later on, how you cultivate a higher energy choice. And when your energy rises, your life rises with it. So the second controllable is to energize and engage your team. The third is to build people, build teams, build relationships. Every single person watching this summit, know that you are in the people business. It's how you grow and help others grow that will determine how far you can go. So how do you help people know they're important? How do you help people feel significant, feel that they matter, feel that they count? How do you build trust right out of the gate? How do you build a life of balance? We have choices about the way. Sorry about that. Somehow or other, I just lost you. What did I just do? Can you see me? I can't see you anymore. I don't know what happened.
Let's see. I can ask you.
There we go. All right. That's the difficulty of doing an interview in a car. But so we're talking about how do you impact people, right? And so, but what I want people to understand is that by building people, teams, and relationships, there are certain things we do every day that cause us to become masters at that. So when you focus on these three controllables, and here's the trick: we all want results. We all want results, but if you focus on the result instead of what you put in to get to the result, you never get to the result. So focus on shape your future, energize and engage yourself and your team, build people, teams, and relationships. Then you're going to start to generate breakthrough results. And breakthrough results are doing things you didn't know when you started out. I bet, Keith, when you started out being a coach and a nutrition leader, you didn't know you'd end up doing a summit. That's a breakthrough result. That's doing something
absolutely.
where you could, instead of working one-on-one, now you work one on thousands, hundreds of thousands. That's a breakthrough. Here's the best part about breakthrough leadership. By focusing on those three controllables, again, shape your future, energize and engage your team and yourself, build people, teams, and relationships. By starting to generate more of those breakthrough results, eventually breakthrough leadership moves from the outside and what you do to the inside and who you become. And that's a model of personal excellence, integrity, accountability, and humility. And to me, the most important one of all is the one that's never taught, and that is humility. Now, here's why humility is so important. So many people have come, especially in the last 10 years, I'll say, have come to the false idea that if you're humble, you're not really confident. That the only way to be confident is to kind of have some bluster and some, toot your own horn. It cannot be farther from the truth. You can be incredibly humble and incredibly confident, because being humble doesn't mean you think less of yourself. It means you think of yourself less. Think of yourself less. But here's why humility is so crucial. If you really want to break through, you want to rise to your potential. Only those who are humble are lifelong learners, because only those who are humble would rather be wrong and learn something from it than to always pretend they're right, to always talk about how great they are. When you're humble, it's easy for you to give credit and take responsibility, right? And it's amazing what's accomplished when nobody cares who gets the credit. And finally, when you're humble, you're focused on your character more than your reputation, because your character is who you are. Your reputation only what others think you are. And if you stick with that focus and you're humble, eventually your reputation and your character will merge. It will become one. So breakthrough leadership is all about those three controllables: shape your future, energize and engage yourself and your team, build people, build teams, build relationships.
Awesome. I love that. Yeah. And it's definitely seems like it's more focused on the growth mindset versus like the fixed mindset. You know, that fixed mindset.
Absolutely. We're always moving. We're moving. And by focusing on what you want to focus on, you set that GPS. But then you got to get to work to, push the pedals or move your legs or whatever it
Yeah.
is you're going to ride your bike. That's where those three controllables come in. They get you to that destination that you've created through your vision.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and with that, and you actually said we would get to it later, but it's the next question. So, you were speaking about energy, and most of the time we only speak about energy, and it's in physics and science. And I would say most of the people I know didn't like science, so they didn't pay attention to that either. So, uh, in your books, seminars, and presentations, you help us discover how to elevate your energy. Can you talk about this critical key to a richer life?
Absolutely, absolutely. Now you cover one of them really well, so I won't go into it a whole lot, and that's about nutrition. All right, nutrition is a vital key, ongoing through to create energy. Drink more, drink water. So I mean, if you're drinking cokes and stuff like that, boy, you're not helping your energy. But I focus on kind of the choice areas, including nutrition. But I'm going to leave that to you because you're the boss, you're the expert, you're the man. All right, but here's the starting place. Again, most people think of their energy as something outside of themselves. It's kind of like, man, I hope I have enough energy when I get home to keep my eyes awake. All right.
Yeah,
But your energy is a choice. And there's the most powerful way that I've seen people start to transform their life energy is to start with a simple context. How can you improve something if you don't measure it? And so start with a 10-point energy scale. Now, a simple 10-point scale. Now, on our 10-point energy scale, 1 is comatose. All
yeah,
right. 10 is a child on Christmas morning. 10 is the way you feel when you nailed it. You'd set that goal to drop 25 pounds and you just hit your 26th. You're feeling awesome. 10 is when you just at your peak. And so once we've created that context, I'm going to ask everyone probably one of the most important questions you could ever ask yourself. It's a life-changing, health-changing, family-changing, career-changing, you-changing question. When you think about that 10-point energy scale from 1 to 10, where have you been living your life? Woo, that is a good question. Are you
yeah,
living at level 6 or level 7? I don't know where you're living, but you do. And unless your answer was 99.9 on that 10-point scale, the next question is the breakthrough question. How can you transform that? How can you change that number, your energy average, your energy comfort zone? And that's where energy becomes a choice, because there are 3 foundational ways that I talk about, in addition to your nutrition, which will be the 4th, that you can transform your energy starting this minute right now. And the first way you transform your energy is so simple that we miss it. And here's what it is. From this moment, know that your energy is created by the way that you move. Period. Your energy is created by the way that you move. In other words, anytime you've been at your best, you've given your best presentation, you've been your most alert, you've been your most dynamic, you've been your most loving or understanding, you've been most creative. You've
yeah.
moved your body distinctly differently at those times than when you've not been your best. What
Hmm.
specifically? Your body line and posture, your facial position, your eye position, focal point, your facial expression, your actually physical movement, and your breathing.
Yep.
Now, Keith, I've said this to some people before, and they say, well, Brian, if I had more energy, I'd move more. Ah, move more, and you'll have more energy.
Energy. Yep.
That's where the choice resides. I bet everyone watching your summit knows somebody in their life who's much older than them, who blows them away because they have amazing energy.
Yeah.
And though I have, it could be a mother, a father, a grandparent, parent, and though I don't know who they are, obviously, I bet I know 2 things about that person, important things. Number 1, they're one of your heroes. They're somebody you admire greatly because they have this incredible energy at an advanced age. And number 2, they keep moving. We
Yeah.
don't get older, we just stop moving. Keith, I'm actually 94 years old, but I just keep moving all the time. No, I am 70 years old. So here's what I call ETPs that everyone on this show can start to really work on. It's an energy transformation project. And the starting place is for the next 30 days, change the way you move. Because however you've been moving up till today, it's just a comfort zone. And that comfort zone can become a confinement zone. So I encourage people to do what I call the 20-20 rule. Never sit at a computer or a desk. I noticed when you're doing your show, you're standing up. I would be standing up too, except for I'm in a car and I'd hit my head on the rope.
Yeah.
Never sit at a computer, a desk, an iPad, on a phone for more than 20 minutes without taking 20 seconds to do some rapid movement, whether it's running in place, a couple jumping jacks, just doing, dancing for 20 seconds. All right, so that's the starting place. Secondly, get yourself a mirror. One thing I love about Zoom, I have to look at my own face. And if I see my face looking at level 4, I got to change my face. I got to fake it till I make it. But if you see a level 5 face in that mirror, change your face. You're not going to break the mirror. Change your face. Add 5 minutes a day of actual physical movement to your life over the next 7 days. Now, that doesn't mean 5 Monday, 10 Tuesday, 15. Just 5 more each of those 7 days. So when you think about it, at the end of the week, you've added 35 minutes of movement to your week. The next week, 5 more. You're up to 1 hour and 10 minutes of more physical movements, and inch by inch, anything's a cinch. By the end of that 30-day ETP, you've added 2 hours and 20 minutes of movement. Not only will you probably lose a pound or two, but you'll start to energize your system. So the first key to energizing yourself and really building a whole new level of energy is to change the way you move. If you want to move your life, you got to move yourself. The second is even more powerful. In fact, when you master the second, you will have the first. You will add movement to your life by mastering the second key. From this moment forward, know that your level of energy is directly proportional to your level of purpose. Whenever you're full of purpose, you're full of energy. When you get to do what you love to do, it doesn't matter how much you've been sleeping. It doesn't matter if things have been in your mind. You get to do what you love to do. You're like my grandchildren going, get out of my way. I can't wait.
Yeah. Let's just go.
Yeah. But have you ever noticed what happens to your energy when you lose sight of your purpose? It's like somebody puts a pin in a balloon. So I'll give you an example. At every event at which I speak, and I love to speak. When I'm on stage, I'm 25.
Yeah.
I get off stage, I'm 70 again. Okay, but on stage, I'm 25. I always bring with me a photo of my family. They are my purpose. I love them more than life itself. And as beautiful as those people are, I don't bring the photo with me to show the audience.
Yeah.
I bring the photo with me to show me. And the last thing I do before I speak is I go to my purpose. I go to my family. And I focus on them with all my heart and soul, with my full out energy. And I think to myself, how much I love them, how much I adore them, how much I want to do for them, give for them, be for them. And the instant that I focus full out on my purpose, as it will happen to every one of us, it changes me. Instantly, it doesn't matter if my hips have been aching. It doesn't matter how many flights have been delayed. All that matters when I focus on my purpose is that if I don't give the people in front of me the best I have to give, that means I'm not giving my family the best because I dedicate it to them.
Yeah.
So how do you can bring purpose in your life in a simple way? On the ETP, start every morning with gratitude. Ask yourself, what am I truly grateful about today? The word has a secret in it, especially if you're not a big speller. Well, what you're grateful about will focus you on what you're grateful. What you're grateful about will focus you on your priorities. Your priorities will pass you to purpose. So the second key to energy from a mindset standpoint, first, change the way you move. You want to move your life, you got to move yourself. Secondly, start every day with gratitude, focusing on your priorities, leading to a higher level of purpose. You ever want to understand the power of purpose? Read a book called Man's Search for Meaning. It was written by Viktor Frankl, who endured Auschwitz, perhaps the most notorious of the concentration camps of World War II. And he said that the people who endured it, the worst inhumanity to man in our history, people starved to death. People, I won't even go into it. But those who survived were those who had a purpose left undone. Mm-hmm. It wasn't how strong you were, it was how strong your purpose was. And the third way is the challenge for most people. I've been speaking about purpose for 35 years. Every so often I have somebody come up to me and say, Brian, I have a lot of energy, except when I get around him. I have this one person in my life who sucks the energy right out of me. Yep. They are my energy vampire. Every time I feel like I can, they show me all the reasons that I can't.
Yeah.
And I always say the same thing to these people and never say it to be harsh or cruel. I say it to set them free. So if any of you watching this show has somebody in your life who kind of fits that description, is that when you go up, they pull you down. All right. You think you have an energy vampire, 2 words to change your life. Stop it. It's not their energy.
Mm-hmm.
It is not their energy. No one can take your energy away from you. No one can take your power away from you unless you give them permission. And anyone can take it away if you give them permission.
Absolutely.
Please learn this from me the easy way, because I learned it the hard way.
Yep, me too.
The guy I thought was my energy vampire for a lot of my life was the same guy that was my hero growing up. It was my dad.
Yeah.
You know, he was big and tough and strong, but he could never say, I love you, son. He could never say, I'm proud of you, son. He could never give me a hug. And for a long time, you know, I pretended like I don't care, doesn't matter. But he was still my hero. I wanted him to be proud of me.
Yeah.
One day, after 14 years from when I left Stanford University until I finished my coaching career, I didn't see my dad. I didn't talk to him. We just separated. And I pretended like it doesn't matter, life is good. But there was a hole in my heart because he was still my hero, even though he was my energy vampire.
Yeah.
Well, one day my wife and I talked, and it's after we had our first child. And I said, honey, as hard as it's been for me to be around my dad my whole life, I don't want our kids to never know their grandparents. So we made the choice to go see them, but I made a bigger choice. And this is the choice that everyone watching this summit can make right now about your energy vampire. I decided that not only would we go to visit my dad for the first time in 14 years, but I would be myself. I would bring my true energy. You know, I always tried to be like I thought he wanted me to be, like him,
Yeah.
tough, quiet, strong. That ain't me, Keith. I'm a goofball.
Yeah.
I cry at openings of supermarkets. I'm the worst. So we went to see my dad, and I brought my authentic energy, not out of anger. You'll never release your energy vampire out of anger. You got to do it out of joy. You got to do it out of peace of mind. One day of releasing my energy vampire and bringing my authentic energy, my life changed. First thing that happened, I realized how much I love my dad and how much he taught me. He taught me about work ethic. He taught me about energy. He taught me to view.
Might have lost you. Are you still with us?
All the years that I thought my dad didn't give a hoot about what I was doing in school and sports, he'd been telling all the other cops. He just didn't want me to have a fat head.
Yeah.
As I told you before we started the show, my father passed away just a couple weeks ago. But in the last 5 years of his life, every time we had a conversation, I called him every day.
Yeah.
Ended with, I love you, son. And that never could have happened until I released the energy vampire that I had created. You know, he is who he is. It was me who decided he was taking my energy away. So 3 things to change your energy in your life, and I'll leave you the 4th, which is nutrition. 1, change the way you move. You want to move your life? You got to move yourself. 2, focus every day on your purpose. Become more purposeful, and your life will become more fulfilling. And finally, release that energy vampire out of peace, out of joy, out of choice. And your energy will rise on that 10-point scale. You get above 9.0, you'll be like Keith. You'll be easy to impress and hard to offend. And that is a dynamite way to live a great life.
Absolutely. And sending prayers to you and your family, and so sorry for your loss.
Thank you so much, Keith.
Yes.
I look at it now that my dad and my mom, who were married for 71 years, are now up there eating cinnamon rolls.
There you go.
I'll make sure they only drink water, but they're still having those good cinnamon rolls she used to make.
You got to indulge a little bit here.
Occasionally, got to have a little fun. They earned it.
All right. So, and whether in your personal life or your professional life, you speak of the secret behind the secrets. What is that foundational principle?
If there's one gift I would want to give to everyone I ever meet more than any other, it's to understand the only way that we build trust, build people, build relationships. And it's to be what I call fully present. Now, what does that mean? When you're fully present, 100% of your mind, body, and spirit, is with the people you're with where they are now. Now, how many of us have ever been with somebody where we know their body's there, but the rest of them is in some other county?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. And so here's an important question to ask yourself. How does it make you feel when someone you really wish to be present with you is not fully present with you? You know, how does it make you feel when somebody you really want to connect with is obviously more interested in their cell phone than they are in you? You know, for every person I've ever known, it makes them feel worth less. It makes them feel insignificant and unimportant. And here's the gig, breakthrough leaders. And remember, you are a breakthrough leader. We're just bringing it out. Our job, I believe, more than any other, no matter what we do as a profession, with our kids, with our customers, with our teammates, with anybody we care about, our job is to help the people we lead, that we serve, that we love, to know they're important, to know they're significant. Because when people feel important, they rise. They rise to, oh yeah. And people feel unimportant, they fall to, oh no. They give up. And the only way you can communicate that truly at a heart level and an unmistakable level is to be fully present. And let me just bring this one alive with probably the turning point in my life. Two of my greatest teachers in my life were my daughters, Kelsey and Jenna.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're all grown up. I have grandchildren. But when they were 8 and 3, they changed my life by teaching me the power of being present. And at that time, my speaking career had taken off. I was on the phone all the time, and we actually had phones you plugged into a wall. It was in my office, 2 doors away from where my daughters slept. And I was teaching being present, but sometimes we know what to do, but we don't do what we know.
Mm-hmm.
And so every night I had gotten in the habit, instead of tucking my girls in and reading them a story and being there with my wife, and last thing before they go to sleep, being present with them so they knew how much they were loved, I would pop into my office because I would have all these voicemails. And I think to myself, well, while they're brushing their teeth and putting on their jammies, getting their clothes ready for tomorrow and their school stuff, I'll just pop in my office, knock out some of these voicemails. Well, you probably know what happened. An hour later, I put the phone down. Yeah. My wife had tucked them in. My wife had been present with them, thank goodness. And I remember so many nights walking into their bedroom in the dark, making my way to their bunk beds to give them each a kiss on the cheek they didn't even know they got.
Yeah.
And as I walked out the door, it felt like somebody slugged me in the stomach. And I'd say things like, tomorrow I'll do better. As soon as I get a little bit ahead, I'll be better. But the next night, the phone was still there. And this went on for days. It rolled into weeks that turned into months. And then one night, my daughters changed my life. I was reaching for the phone when I could have been and should have been tucking them in and loving them and being present with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt my daughter's energy behind me. I didn't hear them, but I knew they were behind me. And I turned my head and I looked, and there they were. And I grinned at them because they were so cute. They were only 8 and 3. Mm-hmm. And they ran to me. And Jenna, my youngest, was 3. She dove into my lap and kind of nosed my arm out of the way like your husky saying, pet me, pet me.
Yeah.
And I looked at the girls and I said, girls, what are you doing? This is so cool. And they looked at me and they said, Daddy, can we just ask you something before we go to sleep? I said, girls, you can ask me anything. And they grabbed my heart and they shook it. And they changed everything in my life. And they gave me a compelling why that's changed every minute of my life since that night. Because they looked at me with those beautiful, innocent 8 and 3-year-old eyes. And they said, Daddy, we just want to know, do you love your phone more than you love us?
Ooh.
Oh, you hit it.
Yeah.
I felt the blade went in deep. Emerson said, what you do scream so loudly, I can't hear a word you're saying. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't fake it. I was living my life as if my phone was more important than my family.
Yeah.
Well, I tucked him in that night, never missed another night after that when I was home. Next morning, I made him breakfast, brought him to school. My wife was the happiest person on the planet because she's not a morning girl. And I never missed another morning after that. And after that, my goal in life became to be fully present in every precious, what I call woo, which is the window of opportunity, which is every precious moment. So the gift, the ultimate secret to building people, teams, and relationships and to having an incredible life is to be fully present. And you can't fake it. People know when you're there or when your mind's somewhere else. And every time you're present, you say to whoever it is, you're important, you matter, you count. I like there's a fun little poem that brings it alive. It says, the past is history, the future, a mystery. The gift is now. That's why we call it the present.
Yeah, and it's definitely true. And I find even myself, I find myself like living in that past experience, or we all have times like where we go up and down, like where, when you're at your lowest, you're like, why did I do that? But you just harp on that thing. But it's like, why did you do that? But then, like, how did you get back up? Like, what did you do to reach that level? What was your purpose? Um, and I think what a lot of people get confused is like purpose and passion. You can be passionate about something, but that might not be your purpose. So you can have that passion for something, and then it's not aligning, it's not working out because it's not part of your purpose, so
Exactly.
you're trying to force something that's, I want to say, not ever going to be, just because you're passionate about it. So I love that you speak about, purpose. And I think it's one of those words that's like kind of phasing out with everything coming up, and people are talking about motivation, determination, and all that stuff. And it's like each word has its own meaning. That's why the word is in the dictionary and it's separate. But people just throw them around and get confused. So I love that you talk about that.
Beautiful. It's your and I job to help people focus on being present and being full of purpose. And when you align your passion and your purpose, that's when you become, really move towards your potential. You'll find joy because whenever you seek to enrich somebody else's experience, whenever you coach somebody, you can't help but enrich your own because you learn things you wouldn't have learned had you not sought to try to find out how to help somebody. You put yourself out there and you watch I know the joy you feel when you help people transform their health because
Absolutely.
it's much more than how you look. It's how you feel.
Yeah.
It's what you bring to your family every day when you have energy, as opposed to, well, where's the couch? I can't get up. And you change that. You change the whole your whole being, your whole experience of life. So here's the beauty of it. Again, whenever you seek to enrich another's experience, you can't help but enrich your own. You're going to grow along with them and enjoy and have the joy along with them.
Yes, absolutely. And it's so true. So, and this next question is like one of my favorites because it reminds me of something about like one of my favorite movies growing up, which is The Karate Kid. So, in your seminars, you're known for having participants, break through 1 inch thick wooden boards as a personal breakthrough experience and an incredible team event. I think our listeners would love to hear about this breakthrough approach.
Okay, I think we're back. I just had a freeze up here, so sorry.
Yep.
I'm in the mountains, so we froze up. So
All right, so I was going over it is like in your seminars, you have participants break through that 1 inch board as their personal breakthroughs and experience an incredible like in-person event. So I would love for you to, tell the listeners how that breakthrough approach came.
oh, I love that. I mean, I to give you an idea, I've had board breaking at the end of my seminars over 1,900 times, and I can't wait to do it again. It is the greatest combination individual and team experience you'll ever have an event. The individual part is it's a metaphor. So I have everyone write on their 1 inch thick board something they want to break through. Could be in their health, could be in their nutrition, could be procrastination, could be fear of failure. So they all write down something that they know has been eating at their life that they're ready to leave behind them. On the other side of the board, they get to do that vision thing. They get to write down and envision what's waiting for me when I have broken through. What am I going to do, feel, create, be, have in my life? Because never again is this going to hold me back. So I've had people, when after they've broken their boards, write to me years later and said they beat cancer because of what they wrote on that board. They brought their families back together. They lost 150 pounds. I've had people write to me. I've had people say they transformed their career. They wrote a book they always wanted to write, but they could never get started. So the first part of the breakthrough experience is that meaning. The second part is I've done this with as many as 4,000 people. So say I had 500 people in an event. We would start off with 50 circles of 10 people each in a
Yeah.
circle. So if Keith is breaking his board in that circle, everyone in that circle is going, Keith, 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 50 at a time, music pounding, people clapping. Some people have never been cheered for in their life like that. And for them, that's the breakthrough, to understand what it feels like to really be supported. The team part is equally powerful. You will never see people cheer like they cheer in this board breaking. It's almost like tribal. People just go crazy.
Yeah.
Tears, energy, emotion. But the best part of the team experience, I can explain by talking about the best day of my life. And that was my daughter's wedding day. And it was for something I never could have understood until I experienced it. And that was for probably 6 hours on her wedding night. I didn't think of myself once. All I could do was think of her. They told me I was crying and laughing at the same time. All I remember was her.
Yeah.
And when those people are going, Keith, 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 those 9 people in that circle, they get to feel the way I felt about my daughter, about Keith. They're focusing on you. We've moved from ego to we go. So, and what I love about the whole, that's the essence of what that breakthrough is about. But what I love about it, it's real. And it causes everybody to take everything we've learned about vision, because 90% about breaking the board, shape your future, is look beyond the board, not at the board. Secondly, you got to have energy. At level 2, that board is a brick. At level 10, it's not that tough. Either is light. And finally, it's a team experience, so we're all supporting each other. So it takes all those lessons we've talked about in this show and puts them into a real experience. You make me think about one fun thing, too. Some people go, well, what if you're a great, big, strong guy? You know, it's probably you're going, oh, no problem. One of the first events I taught, I had a guy in my seminar, and believe it or not, his name was Keith. And he was 6'4", 245 pounds. He was a bodybuilder. His biceps were bigger than my body. And I got to tell you, when I held the board for him, I was kind of worried he might break me. And he was terrified, Keith. He was shaking. He was so scared. And he hit that board so hard that when I held the board for him, parts of me jiggled I didn't know I still had. And the board did not break. And the person right before him had been a little tiny 5'2" woman who had gone right through her board. And I looked at Keith and I said, Keith, what'd you look at? He goes, oh my gosh, I looked at the board. Because I've taught everybody, focus on what you want, not what you don't want. And I said, Keith, just look in my eyes, reach through the board. Don't even think about it. Just reach through the board, keep your eyes on my eyes. He broke the board like it was a twig. But at the end of that event, he got up in front of his team and he told them, I was terrified of this breakthrough. And everyone had the same reaction. Why? You're so big, you're so strong. What were you afraid of? And he said, I wasn't afraid of hurting myself. I was afraid of being the bodybuilder who didn't break his board. I was afraid of being embarrassed. And everyone had a breakthrough moment because they thought, oh, he's got it. We always think everybody else has got it figured out. But everybody has something to break through. And that's why I love the breakthrough experience, because you get to get clear about that thing that today is the day I'm never going to let this hold me back again. And so I've done it 1,900 times. I can't wait till next week when I do it 1,901. Let's go.
There you go. There you go. Excuse me. All right. So, and you're a big believer in reaching out to others, letting them know just how you feel. You know, how can a simple thank you make a difference? And what does it mean to be a world-class buddy thinker?
I love that. I made up that term because I want to kind of create a little level of fun with the power of thank you. You know, as I've traveled around the world speaking to 1 million people, I'll bet 800,000 of those people often feel unappreciated. And those simple words, thank you, and lift people to a different level. So how do you become someone who really embodies gratitude and appreciation? And that's why I say be a world-class buddy thinker. I'll give you real quick, we could do a whole talk about it, but real quick, a fun way to remember it. Whether you love sports or you don't love sports, you'll love ESPN. From here on out, remember ESPN as a way to be a world-class buddy thinker. The E says thank people with effort and energy. So often we thank people out of rote memory. Hey, thanks a lot, appreciate it. Doesn't mean anything. But when you look that person in the eye, you smile at them, you shake both your hands around their hand. You really use some energy to focus on what you want to express to them of thanks. It connects. So the E says thank people with effort and energy. It also means thank people for their effort and energy and not just their results. So often we we only think we're supposed to say thank you or give appreciation, gratitude, recognition when somebody's hit their goal. But goals are made up. What they put in is what we want to appreciate, the effort, the energy, the attitude. So when you thank people for their effort and energy, they feel like they matter.
Yeah.
So the E, thank people with and for effort and energy. S, occasionally use the power of surprise. It's the super glue of impact. You know, when you send somebody a handwritten card these days, they're like shocked because they don't get any handwritten cards.
Yeah.
So they'll remember that 1,000 times more than all those emails that have piled up. So just do a little, you know, a Post-it note. Stop a meeting to acknowledge somebody for their effort and energy. You know, write that handwritten card. Do something a little bit unexpected to express appreciation, and it sticks to them like super glue. The P we've already talked about, the most important of all, be fully present. Every time you're fully present, you are expressing to that person that you believe in them and that they matter. It says to them that they're important. And the N in ESPN, do it now. You know, I believe that we are on this path every day. I like to vision life as the road before us. And every so often we get to the same Y in the road. One side goes in this direction, says as soon as. The other side says now. Tell you the truth, as soon as looks easier. It's well lit. It's got repaved, piece of cake, easy.
Yeah.
Now can be twisty and turny. A few lights are out, got some potholes. But if you stay on the road called as soon as, it's a direct road to never.
Never. Yes, absolutely.
Choose the now. So if there's people you need to say thank you to, people you need to recognize and acknowledge, people you need to let them know that you love them, do it now because you may never pass that way again. If you've been living at level 5 on our 10-point energy scale, change your movement, change your diet, change your focus on what you put in. All right. Focus on your purpose. Do it now and you'll start on the path. If you've been focusing on what you don't want instead of what you do want, like Keith looking at the board instead of the breakthrough, transform your vision now. Now is what matters. Remember, the past is history, the future a mystery, the gift is now. That's why we call it the present. ESPN. Thank people with and for effort and energy. Occasionally use that beautiful power of surprise. Most of all, be fully present. And when do you do it? Now.
There we go. So like, oh, it's been such a great interview. Like I was taking notes over here myself. I'm gonna go back and rewatch it because you dropped some key gems that are just invaluable to success and growth. You know, every day we're trying to wake up and be better than we were yesterday. So like you said, the main thing for me is choice. You have a choice. You don't wake up in the morning always feeling great, but you choose to be great. You know, you choose to get up out of bed. You choose to go to the gym. You choose to eat healthy. You choose to read that book. And it's understanding that we are in control. We are leaders of our life. Like you said, everyone is a leader. You are leading yourself daily. So if you can lead yourself, you can lead anyone, anything. It's just you have to have the mindset to do it.
That is so brilliant, Keith, man. I'm so glad you kind of recapped it there because that's what breakthroughs are about is choice. And real quick, change this one word in your life. Stop saying I have to. I have to go to the gym. I have to work out. And replace it with the word you just talked about. I choose to.
Yeah.
You know, when you get down to it, we only really have to do one thing in life, and that's die. Everything else is a matter of choice. So live your life from I choose to, I want to, I would like to, I can't wait to, and you'll move towards it instead of every time you say I have to, in the back of your mind, 2 other words are attached to it that we learned when we were little kids. That is or else something bad will happen. You better do this or else you're going to get a spanking. You better do this or else you're going to be in trouble. That or else stays in our mind every time we say I have to. Then live your life from choice. I choose to. And it suddenly you can feel how it transforms your whole energy. Brilliant perception of what the biggest message is breakthrough leadership is all about your choice.
Absolutely. And before we go, do you have a free gift that you want to give to all of the listeners?
I sure do, and it's a really cool gift. My mentor, in life was John Wooden. I mentioned him briefly on the show. He was, for those who don't know, he was a UCLA basketball coach whose UCLA teams won 10 national championships. No other coach in men's history has won more than 5. He won 10 in 12 years. But he was an even better father, better husband, better person than he was a coach. And so the gift is a 33-minute interview I did with Coach in 2001. He lived to be 99 and a half. For those who are into Ted Lasso, he's on the wall of Ted Lasso's office. He was the greatest coach of all time. And in those 33 minutes, you're going to learn about the pyramid of success, which he used to teach all the people that he coached how to live a great life. It's brilliant. It's simple. And so that is the gift. We'll give you a link to the 33-minute audio interview you can listen to again and again and again from the greatest of them all, Coach John Wooden.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to that myself. And just for all the listeners and things, how do they get in contact with you? If someone wants to reach out and, talk to you about leadership or possibly joining one of your programs and things, how do they get in contact with you?
Well, thanks so much. It's the easiest way is my website. It's just brianbiro.com, BrianBiro.com. I've made a goal. It took me 34 years to reach 1 million people at live events. And that's what I do. I speak for your organization, speak for your company. I've set the goal, because I just turned 70, that by the time I reach 80, I will have spoken to 1 million more. I want to reach 1 million in 10 years, even though it took 34 years to reach the first million. So reach out to me on my website about coming to speak for your organization. That's my dream, is to reach another 1 million people. And I'd love to come and bring these breakthrough principles to your team.
Awesome. Well, that is a wrap for today's interview. And thank you guys for tuning in on the Peak Performance Summit, creating harmony between mind, body, and nutrition, with our special guest, Brian Biro.
I knew we'd find you had Brian Biro's bio. That's a tough
Brian
one.
Biro's bio. There you go. The tongue twister. So thank you guys for tuning in. And again, if you want to connect with Brian, it's brianbiro.com, and we will be sending out that link with that freebie with that interview of John Wooden. And we hope you guys have an amazing day. Thank you.
Thanks, Keith.